All right, let's start the class. Chalo, today we'll start with hypothyroidism. So yesterday we finished what is hypo. We'll do hyper today, and hopefully we'll proceed a little bit more into TFT. Now, hyperthyroidism, as the name suggests, is an increased level of thyroid hormone in your blood. Okay, it is normally seen what do you call lab-wise through elevation in TH level in your blood or plasma, specifically, and clinically by hypermetabolism. So, how you what do you call gauge if someone has hypermetabolism is through how you gauge someone has hyperthyroidism or thyrotoxicosis. It's also called thyrotoxicosis is through hypermetabolism. The person will be hypermetabolic. They will have increased amount of metabolism. Right. Now it fairly low in occurrence, as in 0.3 to 0.6% of the general population will have this, and females are more prone to hyperthyroidism than men, or at least more number of females are affected than men with hyperthyroidism. Now, generally based on the levels of TSH and FT4, free T4, because see hypo or hyperthyroidism, both of them will be classified based on T4 rather than T3. TSH will be the common factor anyway, but T4 इसलिए use कर रहे हैं because that is the circulatory hormone, right? The usable metabolically more active hormone is T3, which is being converted in a cell. Target cell में जाके T4 will be converted into T3, but the circulatory one will be T4. So you always correlate these conditions with T4 rather than with T3. All right. Generally, when we talk about hyperthyroidism, both of them will go up, not just T. If T4 is going up, T3 will also go up. Okay. Until and unless you have some specific condition wherein the target cell is not able to convert T4 to T3, then maybe there will be some fluctuation. But in general, one general rule of thumb is whenever T4 goes up, T3 will also go up simultaneously, right? Now coming to primary hyperthyroidism, this is basically increase in T4 but decrease in TSH because of negative regulation. The same thing as yesterday. And hypothyroidism, when I told you, if T4 decreases, the response will be increasing TSH, but because of some problem in between them, because the TSH is not able to stimulate formation of T4, T3, that is causing hypothyroidism. In the same way here, because there is already elevated T4 and T3, let's suppose we are only talking about T4, if there is only elevated T4, then your body will obviously signal that you do not need any more production of thyroid hormone. Hence, TSH will go down, thyroid stimulating hormone will go down, and that will be a primary hypothyroidism. Now, secondary or central hyperthyroidism is a condition in which FT4 is already elevated. In all types of hyperthyroidism, T4 will be high, but TSH might be normal or elevated. This is specifically the case in some cancers. Okay, for example, your anterior pituitary adenoma. It can also be a tumor that is simple tumor, benign tumor as well, which is causing some hindrance. But generally, for one example, it is anterior pituitary adenoma causes that. Right. Now, see, you can see clinical evidence of hyperthyroidism as a mass. You can use a CT or you can use MRI scan, and you'll be able to see a small mass on the pituitary gland. This adenoma you'll be able to see through CT or MRI. And then there is subclinical hyperthyroidism, where there is persistent depression TSH when FT4 and T3 are normal. So relatively T4 and T3 will be high. Okay. Now, let me put it this way: if let's suppose normally 10 units of TSH are present and 10 units of T4 are present. Whenever T4 is going to 12 or 15 units, the number of TSH units are going down to 5, for example, till for what you studied till now. If TSH is high, T4 and T3 will obviously become what you call high eventually, right? But initially, because T4 and T3 are low, that is when TSH will go up. So in this condition, what I'm telling is, let's suppose FT4 instead of being 10 units, it has gone up to 15 units. Because of this, TSH level has gone down. But in subclinical hyperthyroidism, what is happening is FT4 and T3 levels are normal, meaning TSH levels should also be normal. They should be in proper balance where the cycle is continuing. If there is any fluctuations in T4, T3, then there will be fluctuation in TSH. But here what is happening, there is no fluctuation in T4, but there is some what you call cause that is depressing the formation of TSH or depressing the function of TSH. So there is abnormal, basically the balance is lost. There is abnormal decrease in TSH while T4 and T3 remain normal. All right, I hope you understood that. If you did not understand, please stop me, I'll explain again. All right. Right. Now coming to Graves' disease, that again I repeat, please feel free to ask any doubts at any time. Okay, if you're not understanding anything, I'm here to clear your doubts as the best I can. Right, now coming to Graves' disease. Graves' disease is a autoimmune disease that will manifest through hyperthyroidism. Yeah, Suresh. No. You have a doubt, or are you just checking your audio? Right. Now, again, as I was telling, your Graves' disease is an autoimmune disease wherein, what do you call? It will manifest through hyperthyroidism. What is happening is your IgG antibodies. आप लोगों को immunity के बारे में पढ़ा है कुछ भी? You have it in biochemistry as well, but have you been taught anything about immunity as such? Types of immunity and anything related to immunity? What are antibodies?
No,
No? Okay, ठीक है.
no.
We'll get to it eventually. Don't worry. Now, there are a few types of antibodies that are present in your what do you call body that are formed in response to a antigen. Now, one particular type of antibody is, think of antibody like reporters. Okay, the simplest way of understanding antibody is a reporter. So if there is a crime occurring somewhere, a reporter will report that. Okay, so that police can come and do their thing and all of that. So antibody is something like that. All right, for now that is the simplest way of understanding what an antibody is. So coming back to this, your agonistic antibodies. So what will happen is your thyroid stimulating IgG antibodies, they will bind and activate to TSH, bind and activate TSH receptor, producing excessive amount of TH. Now bear in mind there is no response from your pituitary gland. So your pituitary gland is not secreting any what do you call TSH. Yeah, but the problem is there is an antibody that is going and attaching to the TSH receptor in your thyroid gland, which is causing production of thyroid hormone. All right. Normally, if you remember in the cycle, hypothalamus said TRH, TRH will go to your anterior pituitary. From your anterior pituitary, it is going to your thyroid gland. In between your anterior pituitary and your thyroid gland is your TSH, right? TSH, imagine enzymes as we covered enzymes, right? So I told you enzyme is like a key to a particular lock, right? If you remember enzymes, sure, video डाले था शायद. If I'm not sure whether I covered this concept or not, just imagine enzymes as keys to specific locks. Okay, until and unless you have one specific lock to that specific key, that lock will not open and the key will not function. All right. So in this case, your TSH receptor will be that lock. Okay, to which TSH comes and binds and opens that lock so that thyroid hormone can be formed. Right, I'll repeat once again. Stop drawing on the PDF. Now, your enzyme will work as a key. Okay, your receptor in this sense is a lock. Only when you have a specific key for one specific lock, you will be able to open that lock and get the desired effect. Okay, in this case, you can stimulate the formation of thyroid hormone. So your thyroid receptor will act as a lock in the sense that only TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, will have a very specific receptor that it can go and bind to, and when it is binding to that, you will get the production of thyroid hormone. That is normal. Okay, now in Graves' disease, what is happening is autoantibodies are being formed wherein they are being produced and they will mimic the action of TSH. So they will go and stimulate TSH receptor. So it is like a fake key basically. Someone is making a fake key and they are opening the lock. So basically your autoantibodies will work in the same way. Hold on. Right. So that autoantibody will go stimulate TSH receptor and cause thyroid hormone increase. Now here the problem is it was not needed. Until and unless it is needed, your body see if there is decrease in T4 and T3 levels, automatically your body will what do you call stimulate your pituitary, stimulate your hypothalamus and cause increase in TSH. But here there is no problem in thyroid hormone levels. Your body itself is forming autoantibodies which are causing TSH receptor to be stimulated, in turn increasing thyroid hormones level. So this will cause a disproportionate kind of hyperthyroidism. So your TSH levels will be normal, but T3, T4 will keep on going very high. Okay, I hope you understand the concept. This is happening because your own immunity is hindering the production, not hindering, overactivating the production of thyroid hormone. Okay, did you understand the concept? Okay, I'm not getting any
No,
response.
sir.
You did.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
अच्छा,
Yes, sir.
नहीं, okay, ठीक है. I'll explain once again. Now, forget about this and imagine there is a lock and a key. Okay, तुम्हारे घर की lock है, तुम्हारे घर की key है. Now you are going out to some place and when you come back, okay, uh, normally you will be able to use your key, open the lock and get in, right? Now let's suppose when you come back, the lock is already open. Okay, not broken in but open. All right, it can mean one of two things: either you gave the key to someone who has opened it, or there is a robber that is coming in using a fake key or something like that and opening it, fake key or whatever, those, you know, trying to open it through some mechanism or the other, right, through crinkets or all. Now
Yes,
the
sir.
same thing is happening here. Here that robber is your own immunity, the antibody that is formed by your own body. Okay, that auto antibodies that I'm telling you, right? Auto antibodies are reporters. I told you antibodies in general are reporters to your this thing. The simplest way to understand this is, imagine a pathogen. For example, if a bacteria is coming into your body, that will be the criminal. Okay, and your antibody which is formed in response to that antigen, to that bacteria, will be the reporter. That will be the antibody. Antigen के response में antibody बनता. That is normal. Here what is happening is, without any stimulus, without any bacteria, without any pathogen, without any what you call stimulus altogether, an antibody is being formed. Hence it is called an auto antibody. Okay, where it is not warranted. What, and it is called agonistic because it is giving a agonistic effect. Agonistic effect matlab it is increasing or stimulating the normal function. So the normal function of your thyroid gland is production of T3, T4. Agonistic function to any, for example, if I give a agonistic drug, for example, someone has hypothyroidism and I'm giving an agonistic thyroid drug, meaning that drug will go and increase the production of T3, T4. It is boosting what is normal. Okay, so here agonistic autoantibodies will refer to antibodies which are made by your own body and acting on your own what do you call cell, right? Instead of acting on a foreign pathogen, it is acting on your own cell to an extent that it is increasing normal function. So what is happening now, in coming back to that same example, आपके पास चाबी है, आप ताला खोल ले रहे हैं अपने घर का. You have the key to your home and you're opening the lock of your home. That is fine. If some robber comes and opens the key of that lock, your house is exposed now. ठीक है? Now the same thing is happening here. Even though what do you call, your house is normal, no one needs to get inside. Okay, the purpose of opening the lock is to get inside. Okay, let's use that analogy to for increase in T3, T4. Okay, let's suppose going inside represents what do you call increase in T3, T4 or production of T3, T4. So whenever you are going inside, it is normal. Whenever needed, T3, T4 are being formed. Okay, you are TSH, you are bringing the key which is TSH, you are going and attaching what do you call attaching your key into the putting your key into the lock which is your TSH receptor. When you open it and get inside, T3, T4 are formed. Okay, that is the basic example. Now the robber, okay, that fellow is the antibody. He is coming and opening the lock and going inside. Again, whenever he is going inside, production of T3, T4 is occurring. So यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है, your own antibody is causing what you call TSH receptor stimulation without any decrease in T3, T4. All right, normally when there is decrease in T3, T4, TSH will come into picture and cause T3, T4 to be formed. But here there is no decrease in T3, T4. on the flip side, what is happening is automatically your body is creating antibodies which will increase the levels of T3 T4 by using something called an autoantibody which will stimulate your TSH receptor. All right, अब समझ में आया? Example.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, right, this is about antibodies. See, generally the risk factors for any this antibody will be if someone has a some other autoimmune disease, some family history of autoimmune disease. Okay, for example, type 1 diabetes or rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, all of those. Okay, SLE, those are autoimmune conditions in which if someone has a history of autoimmune diseases, in the sense that someone has a family history wherein their family members have their own antibodies attacking themselves, then there is a chance that they can develop Graves disease as well. Okay. Now what you generally see in Graves disease, there is a classical clinical triad. Okay, three particular symptoms that you will see. Okay, the first one is goiter. Now goiter, I think I have an image here. Goiter का नहीं है, hold on, had an image lying around here. Yeah, 1 second. See, this is goiter, basically enlarged thyroid gland. See, here you are seeing slight enlargement wherein it is only compressing, symmetrical enlargement where samne increase ho raha. It can be asymmetrical when one part of the thyroid gland is increasing more than the other part, or it can increase more in size. Both of them can increase more in size. All of that will refer to goiter. A simple swelling of your enlargement of your thyroid gland rather than swelling is your goiter. ठीक है, that will happen in Graves disease. Other than that, अरे किधर गया? Right. So other than that, you will have exophthalmos. So exophthalmos is a condition in which you will have retroorbital tissue formation. मतलब excessive amount of retroorbital tissue hyperplasia, meaning the what you call tissue behind your eye. Okay, the tissue behind your orbit, there will be hyperplasia in that, wherein more and more number of cells will be formed and it will start pushing your eye outside literally. So see, this is a very, this literally looks like someone is just staring very hard, but if you see a better picture of exophthalmos, you will literally see their eyeballs popping out. Okay, they will not actually pop out, but they will really protrude outside because there's a lot of pressure from behind that is pushing the orbit outside. Okay, if you can understand what I'm telling you, right? That is the second condition. And then there will be non-pitting pretibial myxedema. So what is non-tibial? First of all, non-pitting type, pitting type and non-pitting type edemas. आप लोगों को कभी non-pitting pitting edemas पढ़ा है या edema in general कभी पढ़ा है? क्या है?
Swelling.
Swelling.
Swelling है, okay.
Swelling of brain.
Swelling fluid accumulation से हो रहा, ठीक है, in that particular area. अब समझो पैर, okay, if someone's lower limb, specifically their feet have swelling, ठीक है. Now that kind of swelling which is generally associated with edema will have fluid filled inside the interstitium. Okay, in the surrounding cells there is fluid being filled up. Now there will be two different types of edema that will come into picture: pitting and non-pitting. Pitting का मतलब, if let's suppose I have an edema here, okay, generally limbs में होता, if I have a edema here and I push my finger into it, okay, there is a pit formed. Okay, literally there is a depression formed and it takes some time to come back to normalcy. That is a pitting edema. A non-pitting edema will be like your skin. Even if you push inside, it will bounce back immediately. There will be no depression created. Okay, that is the basic difference between pitting and non-pitting edema. यहाँ पर in Graves disease, what will happen is pretibial non-pitting myxedema will occur. So near your tibia, specifically your pre-tibia, actually, you will have non-pitting edema. If you can see this image, that is an example of what you call non-pitting pre-tibial myxedema. That is a sign of Graves disease. So all these three, you will have what you call exophthalmos, you will have goiter, and you will have this pre-tibial myxedema, non-pitting type. These will indicate Graves disease, that someone has the Graves disease. Okay, hope you understood that. Right. Now coming to thyrotoxicosis. Thyrotoxicosis is a manifestation, clinical manifestation of hyperthyroidism, wherein what is happening is it is a complication in a way. So in this, what will happen is if TSH is low, FT4 is normal, but T3 will increase. Okay, generally that will remain that will become elevated. So I'll repeat again: TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, is low, free T4 is normal, but T3 level increases. So the effect in your cells will be very high. So you will have classic signs of hyperthyroidism dial to 10, because the more metabolically active type of thyroid hormone is T3. Here excessive amount of T3 is being formed. Now even if you have excessive amount of T4, there are some chances where there can be some impairment in conversion of T4 to T3, and you will not have as many severe condition, as many severe symptoms of hyperthyroidism. It can happen. Okay, but in this specifically, T3 will increase. Even though T4 is normal and TSH is low, T4 is increasing to the point that you are having severe symptoms of hyperthyroidism. Okay, we'll go over the symptoms of hyper and hypothyroidism, but this is what is happening in thyrotoxicosis. It is also called thyroid storm. Okay, now see, why does that happen? There are two main reasons why thyrotoxicosis happens. One is increased peripheral conversion of thyroidal hormone. So T4 to T3 conversion increases in the peripheral tissue. Peripheral tissue and central tissue may differentiate. Central tissue is your brain, your spinal cord, and that kind. Peripheral tissue will be tissue away from it. Your limbs, your organs, all of that will come under peripheral tissues. So first thing is there is increased amount of conversion from T4 to T3. That is one thing. Or stimulation of thyroid stimulating hormone receptor. Okay, so TSH receptor is being stimulated to an extent that it enhances T3 production more than T4. In both of these conditions it can lead to thyrotoxicosis. Okay, now coming to symptomology of hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, uh, you'll have to memorize these to some extent. Okay, now coming to hypothyroidism, hyper and hypo, you will, if you see, they'll generally be the opposite. So please be careful which heading you put on them. Okay, even if you remember one of them, you have to just relate them to increased amount of what do you call, metabolism. Okay, one of the easiest way to understand is increased metabolism. So let's suppose I have one person, let's suppose I have person A who has hyperthyroidism and person B who has hypothyroidism. Now I know thyroid hormones are responsible for metabolism, for maintaining BMR. That is one of the first thing that we studied. Now if someone has hyperthyroidism, they will obviously have what you call hypermetabolism, right? Their metabolic rate will be very high, their BMR will be very high. So what will happen if I give one idli to both of them? Let's suppose, okay, I'm giving one plate idli or one idli to a hyperthyroid patient and hypothyroid patient. All right, so person A is hyperthyroid, person B is hypothyroid. If I give the same idli to hyperthyroid patient, they will digest it faster, and before they can what do you call, store it for energy or they can use it properly, it will be burnt away. So in this sense, what will happen is, because their BMR is so high, their metabolic rate is so high, they will have weight loss, because whatever they are eating, it is being burnt up very quickly, right? They will have weight loss. Because there is not enough amount of energy, they will have fatigue, right? It can lead to nervousness, palpitations, increased pulse, menstrual irregularities, heat intolerance will occur. So they will not be able to tolerate heat at all. Okay, in the sense that even if there is slight increase in surrounding temperature, they will feel very, very hot. So even at 30 degrees centigrade, now generally as Indians, we can survive normally at 30 degrees centigrade. It is not that bad, right? Seeing that we have already tolerated what is 40 and all, 30 or 25 will not be a problem. So even a slight increase in temperature, for them it will be intolerant. So 2-3 degree increase in temperature from normal will be intolerant to them. There will be increased sweating, diarrhea, tremors, muscle weakness, and eye changes. All right. So all of this will happen in hyperthyroidism. Now coming to hypothyroidism, which is the stark opposite of this, exactly opposite things will happen here to some extent. Okay, weight gain will occur, easy fatigue will occur. Easy fatigue इसलिए हो रहा, even though they are metabolizing slowly, their body is not able to use that energy properly. So there is that, because everything is working slowly, conversion of energy will also become slow, if you understand that kind of aspect. Okay. Normally for you to convert things into energy, you need to have your mitochondria working properly and your cells working properly. अब hypothyroidism में though weight gain हो रहा and you're giving the metabolic rate is low, energy conversion will also be low, which in turn will cause fatigue to the extent that it will lead to lethargy. Okay, that is one common symptom in both of them. Fatigue will be common. In hypothyroidism, it will also go up to lethargy. So they will start having laziness. Okay, clinical laziness, not just like they are simply lazy, but they are having, they do not feel like doing anything, and demotivational kind. That is one. Then here they will have cold intolerance. So if temperature goes up, goes down even a slight bit, they will have an intolerant reaction. They will vertical, let's suppose in normal weather around 25 degrees centigrade and the temperature drops to 23, 22, they will wear a blanket and sit. Okay, it will be that cold for them. So there is, that is cold intolerance basically. They will have hair loss. In hyperthyroidism, there will be hair changes. It will become what you call flaky kind of thing. There will not be hair loss per se, but it will become flaky, kind of greasy as well. So hypothyroidism mein there is hair loss, there is constipation. The patient will be depressed. In that it was anxious. Here nervous basically. You can relate that with anxiousness as well. In here the patient will be depressed. They will have slower reflexes because metabolism is low. Most of the what do you call body's responses will become slower. So reflexes will become slower, heart rate will become slower, uh, voice will deepen because their muscles will lengthen because they are what do you call uh, see your voice will be the depth of your voice will be related to how long your vocal cords are. Okay, the longer they are, the more they can resonate and the deeper your voice will come out. Okay, that is basically the logic. Men generally during their secondary sexual phase, around puberty and all, their vocal cords will extend a little while girls will not. Okay, that is why girls tend to have, see, if you see a 10-year-old or a 8-year-old boy and a girl, both of their voice will be very shrilly, right? Both, neither of them will have any deep voice. There can be women who have deeper voice, who naturally have what they call longer vocal cords and have a deeper voice, but they will not develop, generally not develop longer vocal cords as they age. Boys do. Okay, their vocal cords will lengthen, which will cause deepening in voice. So hypothyroidism will exacerbate that even more and cause it to become hoarse, and skin will become dry and patchy. In hyperthyroidism, skin will become because of increased sweating, it will become very oily. Okay, that is one difference that it did not mention in hyperthyroidism. Skin will become oily there. Here it will become dry and patchy. Here, because of decreased amount of BMR, cholesterol will not be used properly, hence it will elevate in level. Right? Even if you are eating normal diet, level of cholesterol will increase. A conversion of cholesterol into different hormones will decrease basically. That is why elevation of cholesterol is occurring. Other than that, you will have puffy eyes. In this as well, menstrual irregularities will occur. Right? And muscle weakness and muscle cramps are common. Because that is also one common thing between hyper and hypothyroidism. Muscle weakness will occur in both of them. Now, coming to TFT, finally, how do you and why do you do TFT? This is to assess the functional status of the gland, obviously. Now, till now, we have studied what is thyroid, what are the hormones of thyroid, what are some of the disorders of thyroid, hypo and hyperthyroidism, and what is the difference between hypo and hypothyroidism clinically, the symptomology, right? Now, how do you assess if someone is showing any of those symptoms? Let's suppose you get a patient who is showing lethargy, muscle cramps, and maybe a little bit of depression. Okay? The doctor may diagnose it as hypothyroidism, but it is better to perform a TFT and get the proper picture. So see, the patient might give proper symptoms or vague symptoms, wherein it can be several other things as well. So in that condition, it is better to perform a thyroid function test or a functional test in the sense. Now, यहाँ पर what you do is, see, again you have to remember that a single thyroid function test is not absolute, so you have to keep doing it over a period of time and match it with the symptoms. So it is not just only the TFT, because it can vary a little bit from person to person and it can fluctuate based on your mood as well a little bit. But you have to correlate that with symptomology, then you will be able to get proper diagnosis. Okay. Now coming to thyroid function, see these are all of them, these are all the hormones that you, hormones and substances and chemicals that you will be able to test, okay, in what do you call, TFT. Basically in a thyroid function test you will test most of these. Most important ones will be T3, T4, FT4, T3, the first four that you see on the left side. TSH levels, uske niche TBG level, that is important. Then on the right, test for auto antibodies. In that, the first one is important, second one is important kind of, the last one, thyrotropin binding inhibitory immunoglobulin, those are important. TSI is important, thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin. In the last table, this part, other hormones and thyroid related proteins, thyrotropin releasing hormone, this level is important, and thyroglobulin level is important. The others are checked, definitely important, but and also calcitonin, last one. But these ones that I just told you, these will generally give you a basic picture of how well the person is doing in their thyroid function. Okay, if you see just these, it will be fine as well, but it doesn't hurt to check the others. Okay, sometimes there might be abnormal conditions where all of these are normal but the others are abnormal, so that can also happen. Now, this is the summary of what will happen in your this thing. This we already checked. TSH is released by your TRH here is released by your hypothalamus, which will go stimulate your anterior pituitary, in turn causing the production of TSH, which will stimulate your thyroid hormone to produce T4 and T3. Right. This is transported using thyroglobulin. Right. And your what do you call, thyroid antibodies will work against these. That is the basic picture of this. Right. Now classification of the test, how you do the test and how do you classify the test. Now there are a few classification. First one being test based on primary function. तो इसका primary function क्या है? T3 T4 production. So what you check? One, you check for TSH and TRH stimulation, whether they are being stimulated properly. Second, T3 suppression test, is it being suppressed? ठीक है. Third, protein bound iodine in serum, how much amount of iodine is present in your body. See, when you consume iodine, it is not like the iodine will directly go to your what you call thyroid and act there. It will go to your stomach if you are consuming it orally, obviously. uh, for example, the most common example is salt, right? The salt that you put on your what you call food, it is iodinated. That salt goes into your GIT, it gets absorbed in your stomach, in your intestine, it will go into your blood, and from blood it will eventually reach your what you call thyroid gland. In the process, when it is traveling in the blood, it will get bound to a protein. Okay, proteins are responsible for transport as well. You know that one important function of protein is transport. So you will generally measure protein bound iodine. So the more protein bound iodine I have, it will indicate that I have more amount of iodine available for thyroid. Are you guys able to hear me? I just got a message that internet connection is unstable. Are you
Yes,
able
sir.
to hear me? Okay. Okay. The last one will be radio uptake study, radio uptake of iodine. So yeah. So how well your thyroid vertical gland is able to take in iodine. I told you in the start that iodine is very important for the formation of T3, T4, T2 and T1, if you may. Okay. T1 will be your monoiodothyronine, T2 will be your diiodothyronine, but don't write them as T2, T1. I'm just telling you as an example. Okay. DIT or MIT, easier way of that is the proper representation. MIT will be monoiodothyronine, DIT will be diiodothyronine. For the formation of all of these, you need iodine to be taken up by your cell. So you will check that radio uptake of iodine, right? Then there the second part will come where you are measuring the blood levels of thyroid hormones. So you will measure T3 and T4, free and bound both, whether they are bound to thyroid binding globulin or they are bound to what you call albumin, or they are free. Okay. You have TBG, you have TBP and albumin, which are proteins that will bind to T3 and T4 and help in transport of T3, T4. Remember, I told you, imagine Uber cabs or Ola cabs or some other cabs which are transporting hormones, those levels. You will measure the amount of protein bound T3 T4 and the amount of free T3 T4. You'll also measure what is TSH level. You will measure what is PBI. We'll get into that later, what is PBI and all. What is plasma tyrosine level, because tyrosine is important for the formation of the hormone. If you remember the earlier cycle, iodine binds with tyrosine to give you DIT MIT. If tyrosine is low, even if iodine is normal, you will not be able to form DIT and MIT. Right. Now, the next test will be based on the metabolic effect of your thyroid hormone. So, how is your BMR? How is the patient's basal metabolic rate? Are the thyroid hormones functioning properly? Is there a proper effect of thyroid hormone? So, how you do that? In your serum, you can measure cholesterol, creatinine, uric acid, creatinine kinase, and calcium level. Because all of these, the functioning of all of these will be dependent on thyroid hormone, because thyroid hormone is maintaining BMR, the basal metabolic rate, and the metabolic end products of several reactions are these: cholesterol, creatinine, uric acid, and all. If there is an abnormality in these, you can suspect that there might be a problem in BMR along with a problem in the thyroid hormone level. Okay, if there is a, see, normally thyroid hormones are responsible for maintaining your metabolism. Metabolism, you know, is a process where anabolism and catabolism is occurring through several biochemical reactions. मतलब उसके कोई end products रहते हैं, right? For example, if I have glycolysis, ठीक है, at the end of glycolysis I'm getting ATP and I'm getting pyruvic acid, right? That is the end product of my metabolic reaction, right? If I want to check whether my what do you call, mitochondria are working properly or not, or whether ATP are being formed properly or not, I can simply check whether pyruvic acid level is normal or not. Okay, that will be the end product of glycolysis. If pyruvic acid level are normal, generally it will indicate that glycolysis is working properly, your mitochondria is working properly, in that sense, by that conclusion basically. The same way, if BMR is normal, your cholesterol, creatinine, uric acid, all of them should be normal. If there is a fluctuation in this, it can indicate that there is a problem in BMR, right? Then the next one, please, scanning and imaging for thyroid gland. I told you, if there is an adenoma or if there is goiter, all of that can be seen through scanning and imaging. You'll do immunological test for autoantibodies, specifically in cases of, if you're suspecting an autoimmune disease, you will check for autoantibodies. Okay, you will do an immunological test for that. Sometimes, rarely, but you can do biopsy. So you will take a small piece of thyroid what do you call, gland. You will cut a small piece of thyroid gland out, and you will check the what do you call, the function of that cell, basically, whether it is normal, how it is, its histology and all of that, right? Other tests will also include testing specifically for thyroglobulin, the cell that is making thyroid hormones, and for calcitonin. Right? We'll continue the rest tomorrow. You only have 8 more slides. These are relatively easy. And now that you understand the basics, okay? I hope you guys understood today's class.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Yes.